Hi everybody, I'm Joey Paul and I'm an indie author and welcome back to my channel. I write young adult fiction across a variety of genres, and if you think that might interest you, then think about subscribing below. So last month I did 10 facts about editing, which I will link up in the cards, but it made sense for me to do 10 facts about drafting this month. Drafting is by far my most favourite part of the process, so narrowing it down to 10 was hard, but I think they're the ones that really make it fun for me. Number 1. It can be fast, slow, or somewhere in between. I have been both a slow in that it takes me years to finish a draft, and a fast in that it takes me weeks to finish a draft, and an in between, though it leans more to faster than most, in that it usually takes me just under 6 months to finish a draft. There is no normal. There is no time limit to it that if you don't reach, you have somehow failed. Taking part in things like NaNoWriMo apply a deadline, and something like an actual deadline will do the same, but generally speaking you can take as long as you want and need, and no one is going to judge you for it. Or if they are, they shouldn't. Drafting is something that takes as long as it takes, and you just got to strap in and go along for the ride. If you are one way with one project, you might find that the next takes longer or shorter or about the same. There's just no real way when drafting to know for sure, even when you've been doing it for a long time. Number 2. You can plan, or pants, or both. Just as there's no speed limit, there's also no right way to plan or not, because everyone is different, and I'll get to that in a moment. But you can do a detailed outline where you basically know everything you can think of before you start to draft, or you can have a seed of idea and just sit down and see where it takes you, knowing nothing about what happens next. Or you can do a bit of one and a bit of the other, or do both. And all of these, and I stress all, are perfectly valid ways of drafting. Again, no one should be judging you for this. Personally, I do a little of both, though I am a lot more detailed with my outline and plan when it comes to revision, which is a different beast entirely. Number 3. How you personally approach it will not be the same for anyone else. There's a lot of talk of how so-and-so's way of planning, drafting, pantsing, etc. is the perfect way to do it, and more importantly, the only way to do it. Or that this one person has this kind of routine when it comes to drafting, and they wrote a New York Times bestseller, so you have to do it this way, and so on. But the truth is that everyone approaches writing, drafting or not, in a completely different way. There's nothing wrong with learning how others do it and trying and seeing if that works for you. But if it doesn't, or if only some of it does, then that's perfectly okay. Like, I have been someone who knows perfectly well how I approach drafting, but you all watching might not work that way. You might have other things that work for you, and that's just the nature of the beast. It's the way any writing or any creative process works. Number 4. Your routine doesn't always stay the same from project to project. Now, I have been writing for over 2 decades now. I have had so many different routines that it's hilarious to think about. I have been a morning writer, an afternoon writer, a binge writer, a slow and steady writer, a middle of the night writer, an early bird writer. I have been so many different kinds, and it's always evolving. Like, yes, right now I have been getting up early for a long time and been able to do my writing first thing, and then I'm done for the day. And maybe that will stay my routine for the rest of my life. But even saying that, things have changed. There are little tweaks here and there, and that is completely normal. It's part, I think, of being human. Routines are formed and then something happens and it changes. It's not something to worry yourself about. It will change and you've just got to go with the flow. Number 5. It can be easy and hard at the same time. Drafting can be the most fun you've had in a long time, or it can be something you dread, where you have to sit down and pry these words from your brain. Even though for me it's the best part of the process, I still have days when I just know that writing is going to be like pulling teeth. And I dread those days. But sometimes you just have to show up and do the thing anyway. There are going to be some scenes that you breeze through, and others where it takes you weeks to even get through them. It's all part of the process, and yeah, it sucks, but it's part of being creative. It's one of those other things where you have to strap in and let it take you where it takes you. Number 6. One of the pitfalls is writer's block. Writer's block. Something that pretty much every writer has come across in their time. While I'm told it's not something planners get, and I'm also told that if you do get it, you're doing it wrong, I will say that I don't think either of those is true. I don't generally get writer's block, but I do sometimes get to the point where I just don't know what the hell I'm supposed to write. I also get times when it's like, this is a great chapter plan, but I don't know what I can do with it. Writer's block isn't necessarily an aversion to writing. In my experience, it can be a sign that you're on the road to burnout. It's certainly true that it's something I usually struggle with when I'm tired and worn out and have been working too many days on a project. It's something that a lot of people struggle with around NaNoWriMo time because they're literally forcing themselves into a pattern that just isn't sustainable. So yeah, this is something that has happened to me and something that may happen to you. Just be careful, and if it happens a lot, maybe start to question why that is. Number 7. Sometimes you will lose inspiration, and that's okay and normal. Going off the back of writer's block, there are going to be times when that seed of inspiration grows and blooms, and there are going to be times when it straight up dies. It's part of being a writer, and it's part of creating, and it's normal. I just want to stress that again, it is normal. Because too often you hear about people saying that if you're not inspired by your project, you're doing the wrong one, and that's just not true. Inspiration is something that comes in, leaves an idea and whatnot, and stays with you while you're all excited, and then it takes a bit of a holiday before maybe coming back later. That's how it's been for me the whole time I've been writing, and it's the experience of other writers I've spoken to as well. It's completely normal for it to flitter or die or come and go. It might well be that you're working on the wrong project, but that's for you to decide, and if you find that you never finish anything, it could be that you're just waiting for inspiration too much and need to focus on getting over that hurdle of when it leaves. Number 8. Sometimes you can edit as you go, others you can't. I have always been someone who edits as I go, and I know that's not the same for everybody. Some writers will focus solely on getting words on the page, and if they stop and edit, they lose their threads, their motivation, and get stuck trying to get that first chapter or whatnot absolutely perfect. I don't know if it's because I'm a planter and need to know the rest of my story first, or whether it's just something that I fell into, because back in the day I would handwrite my chapters and then type them up afterwards and make changes as I went. Whatever the reason, it's something that works for me, but if it doesn't work for you, that's okay. You're not alone there, and you're not doing it wrong or something. For me, it's part of drafting, and it's actually the only kind of editing that I don't hate because I'm forming new ideas as I go. Number 9. The middle will sometimes be the hardest part. You all heard of saggy middle syndrome, and this is sadly part of my experience too. I have found that sometimes you get to the middle and it's just a hard slog to get through it. Other times it works, but that is rare for me. It's always the part of the book that has the most edits, both in the editing as I go and in revisions and so on. I don't know if it's something that would work better if I planned more, but since I've tried doing that and it did not work for me, I don't think so. I think it's something that most writers have experienced at least once, and it's something that as you keep writing and keep drafting, you get better at avoiding. I usually don't get it now unless I've been struggling before I get to that point, but it's still very much a part of drafting. And number 10, there is no feeling like finishing your first draft. At the time of writing this script, I just finished 2 projects. At the time of filming this video, I will have also just finished 2 projects and started new ones. And while the beginning is also a massive favourite of mine, the ending wins by a margin. I love getting to tie up all the loose ends together and finally get to see the whole story on the page. There's nothing like it for me. The buzz, the rush from knowing that a story that just before existed only in my head is now in a form where other people could read it should I want to share, just blows my mind with how good it feels. So no matter how much the middle sucks, or stories like Pulling Teeth where the inspiration leaves, always acknowledge the end in some way. You did something amazing and you should be proud of yourself for that. So there we go, those are my 10 facts about drafting. Like I said, drafting is pretty much my favourite part of the process and I really do enjoy it, and it made sense to cover it in one of these videos. So what's your favourite fact about drafting? Let me know in the comments down below. So that's all I've got time for today. If you want to support my channel, you can comment, like or subscribe. I post new videos on Thursdays. You can find me all over social media, and my books are available everywhere, and you can also sign up for my newsletter. And don't forget to pick up Cramming Chronicles: The Second Pang, which is the second in a young adult urban fantasy series. And also don't forget to grab a ticket for The City in Birmingham in July, where I'll be signing books. All the links for which are listed below. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep writing. Bye!